Can you see me?
No, if you pull up to the table, we probably could. We see your legs.
How about now?
No, nothing changed. Look at this Joe. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
David, can y'all see me?
You're good. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, we're now live.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting of Sumter City Council to order. It's kind of a new, it is a very new situation for us on council, trying to handle this in as safe a way as possible, but also keeping the public involved. And we will be welcoming online, I'm sure, some of our citizens who will be watching by way of YouTube. We open every city council meeting with an invocation and the pledge of allegiance to our flag. Out of respect for the diversity of opinion and beliefs in our community, we begin each meeting with a moment of silence before our invocation. During that time, each of us may feel free to pray, contemplate, or not, as each person wishes. After the moment of silence, Councilman Steve Corley tonight will pray in accordance with his faith, and then he will say the Pledge of Allegiance. We're not going to join in because that was sort of a mess up last time. We couldn't get it all together. So, Councilman Corley, if we all could stand.
We thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for our city that provides safety and a clean environment, a stable environment. Thank you for our employees who work hard, our department chairs who keep them focused. During this pandemic, we especially pray for our healthcare givers, our doctors, nurses, those in nursing homes who are caring for the elderly, the lonely. Be with our proceedings this evening. Help us. Thank you for the unity we have as work together as City Council, and help us to make good decisions this evening. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
To the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, liberty, justice
for all.
Thank you. And we did it all together, but we still got some work to do on that. Next order of business, you have received the April 7, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to accept them as written, or do we need changes?
I move to accept as written.
Second.
Mr. Merchant moves and Mr. Lowry seconds that we approve the minutes as written. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and they are approved unanimously. Moving into old business, I'll turn it over to the city manager to tell us some things about the budget for fiscal year 2021.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, at our last meeting, we received the draft budget for this new fiscal year 2021, which will take place beginning July 1. Last meeting at the draft, our deficit in the general fund, all the other major funds were balanced. The general fund was a little over 1.7 million. Since last time, we've reduced the request down to 1.6 million. So we'll continue to look at both revenues and expenditures in the next coming days. And each additional meeting we have, we hope to bring that more and more in balanced and get it to a point where we'll definitely be at a discussion point about some policy issues, and also be able to talk through what you have drafted. So you each have it. We're going to work to get the draft out online so the public can see. And then also we'll be advertising the budget public hearing, which will happen next month. And we'll have some unique ways for the public to comment on that as well. And we'll have it in the record. So That's where we are right now. We'll continue to bring it into balance as we move forward. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Anything else on the budget?
That's it.
Thank you. Moving on, we have ordinance 2671, which is an emergency ordinance that amends our previous ordinance 2664. And I think the sole change, Danny or Mr. Crowe, and the sole change is changing the date.
That's correct. Danny, if I'm correct on this, so the biggest issue is just it would expire if council does not act on this to extend. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. This ordinance extends the previous ordinance for 60 days to June 21, which would give you four intervening council meetings if you wish to make any changes in that.
And of course, if council decided before that time that we wanted to stop it, we could do that as well.
Yes, sir. At any of those council meetings. Yes, sir.
Okay, 2671, that is the one which
that was the ordinance, Mr. Mayor, that authorized electronic meetings
okay.
and other related measures.
Is there a motion on 2671 which simply extends that ordinance, which will expire if we don't do something tonight?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Davis moves, Mr. Hasty seconds that we approve ordinance 2671. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And 2671 is passed unanimously. Next, we have ordinance 2672. This deals with boards and commissions. Can we get just a short explanation? And then I'm sure it does the same thing as the previous ordinance in terms of extending the time.
Yes, sir. Ordinance 2672 extended the postponement of city boards and commission meetings through June 20, and also extended any specified time periods for city action, primarily in the zoning area, through June 20. And that ordinance now would expire on June 20. Otherwise, it expires if not amended and extended on May 1st.
Any questions of Mr. Crowe? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move the approval of ordinance 2672 as presented.
Second.
Merchant moves, Mr. Hasty seconds that we give approval to 2673. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We're all ayes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, it's passed unanimously. Next, we have 2673.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, 2673 was the ordinance that declared and urged certain health and safety precautions following the executive orders of the governor. That ordinance, under its original terms, would expire on April 22nd. Ordinance 2673 extends that original 2669 to May 6, which would essentially be the next council meeting, so that council can weigh whether it wished to then extend the ordinance for any additional temporary period.
Any questions? Now,
Yes, sir.
Calvin?
just want a little clarification on what the ordinance was. Could you talk about that? That's the washing of hands of 3 people?
Yes, sir. The original, let me pull that out. The original 2669 tracked the language, or some of the language and positions that the governor had taken in his executive orders, including the closing of certain non-essential businesses, encouraged essentially stay at home except for work, healthcare, or engaging in essential activities, and encouraged retail establishments that were allowed to be open to use safe practices in dealing with public and their own employees. Similarly, with bars and restaurants that were providing takeout, they were encouraged to promote good social distancing principles. And the original ordinance 2669 also expressly stated that this ordinance would yield to any executive orders by the governor that conflicted with any of the provisions.
And the governor has made some adjustments as of today. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
The governor changed some of the ordinances, or part of the ordinances. Folks can go to other places now? Yes,
sir. The governor's ordinance, emergency order 2020 28 from yesterday, did amend some of the essential business and opened up some public access to waterways.
Okay, so we're saying whatever the governor has changed, this ordinance will reflect those changes.
The no conflicting paragraph would do that. We could make that absolutely clear by a motion to amend to provide that whenever in the ordinance it refers to the governor's executive orders, we include Executive Order 2020-28. So that amendment would bring it up to date. That occurred after this was prepared, of course, yesterday. So that amendment would bring it up to date with the current executive orders.
But there are going to be other executive orders.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
And the way I understood this was that any future executive orders would automatically modify our orders to the extent.
They would, Mr. Mayor, they would. And that's the provision that says anything in our ordinance that conflicts with the governor's executive order ceases to have force and effect. We could clarify that if council wished to specifically add reference to his latest executive order 2020-28.
No, I think it's clear enough. You know,
That's
right. It shouldn't be amended.
All right.
I just make sure, because I know we're going to be asked that tomorrow.
Yes. Yes. The intention of this ordinance was to dovetail with the governor's executive orders.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Carly moves, Mr. Merchant seconds that we enact ordinance number 2673. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is passed unanimously. Next, ordinance 2674.
Mr. Mayor, this ordinance extends council's ordinance 2670 that had set a daily curfew. This ordinance 2674 extends that expiration date of April 21 to May 6, which would be the day after your next council meeting, which would give you an opportunity to determine at that time whether that temporary provision should be continued.
Are there any questions? Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Hasty moves, Mr. Corley seconds that we extend the curfew by way of ordinance number 2674. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is passed unanimously. Thank you, Danny.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
New business, we have first reading of a proposed ordinance of annexation, 100% petition relative to property on Electric Drive. City manager, any comments on that?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor and members of council, as your packet shows, this is a piece of property for new construction on Electric Drive. Reason for petition is to receive city services and utilities. Staff recommends that we would act on this favorably. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Consider first reading.
Hasty moves, Mr. Merchant seconds that we give first reading to this ordinance of annexation. Is a discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And it's passed unanimously. Next, we have a lease purchase agreement. First reading. Is this for?
I've got it.
You got it.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor and members of council, each year we're going through the budget. We put things in for lease purchases. So we know there's certain large pieces of equipment that's on Exhibit A. Those include a rescue truck and the tools that go on there for the fire department, a recycling truck, a shuttle truck for recycling, a dump truck for public works, dump truck for parks, an excavator for parks, dump truck for gardens, a compressor for air for firefighting, and also protective gear, their turnout gear, which is their firefighting gear itself. So again, we're looking to give first reading to this, and then we'll hold off second reading until we bid this with the banks, and then we'll actually bring the actual lease purchase to you at final reading. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
I got one. Just Mr. McCoy, just on the firefighter protective gear. That's the suits, I guess you call it, the boots and the suits and the helmet, or what?
Yes, sir. That's the bunker gear. So the actual firefighting gear, the jackets and the pants.
Yeah.
The helmets and boots are usually separate, but it's the turnout gear. It's what they wear in the actual fire. So they degrade over time. UV light, things like that degrades them, and also actually just being in the fire. So
Sure.
We do a really good job of trying to keep the number of sets to keep it going so they don't all go bad at the same time. But we feel pretty comfortable that when the chief put that in, that we needed to do that. We really kind of need to keep those up to date regularly. But they're pretty expensive, but as you know, very necessary. So, but that's the question, and the answer is no kidding. The turnout gear it is the protective gear we're talking about here.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Is there a motion on this?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Davis moves, Mr. Hasty second. Is a discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the lease purchase agreement is given first reading. We've completed our agenda. What's the pleasure of council? Adjournment?
Yes.
Hasty moves, adjournment, who seconds?
Second.
Second by Mr. Corley. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those no, and we're adjourned. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for whoever's watching. We'll continue to try to keep things going during these difficult times. We will keep things going during these difficult times. Thanks.
Thanks, Danny.
She's doing okay.